Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, welcome to Molten Make. My name is James, and we're going to be talking about 13-ish tools that I think are kind of worthwhile. This is part of the Virtually Craft Festival, so thank you to JP, Dale, everyone who's put in a huge amount of work to get this thing not only happening this time, but happening many times before. So check out virtuallycrafty.com if you want to follow the stream so far. We've had JP starting off in the morning, then Ellen, I think, and if you've just come over from the last stream, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's kick things off. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys, let's cut over to camera number 2, is these things. Let's zoom out a bit. This lovely plate was made for me by, let's get it to zoom, focus. Come on. Okay, so this was a trencher made for me by Bevel Wood. You can look them up online. It's really beautiful. I'm going to be using it as just a little showcase there for what we're going to talk about today. So these are pliers. They are things that I always struggle to pronounce. Now I've written it down. It's an ongoing joke how bad I am at saying this. It's Knupex. That's probably wrong, but Knipex, Kinopex, Knupex. These are parallel jaw pliers. So you can see that's kind of your classic hand tool rescue type wrench. This thing is actually an original one. I think they're made by King Dick, and they're adjustable, but the jaws stay parallel if you close them. Now the advantage to that is that you can put a lot more force through whatever it is you're tightening, and these are very similar. So let's zoom back in again. There we go. So as I move these open and close, the jaws move parallel rather than in an arc. Now you can adjust them to a variety of different sizes, so pretty much the biggest nut you're probably going to need to tighten, down to essentially clamping on bits of sheet metal. Thanks, Al. Yeah, pronunciation not my strong suit. But these things are, what a segue. You can use that one for your podcast. These are really good, and if I'm going to be tightening something, that's probably what I'm going to be reaching for, these things. As much as I like this is old, I can use it as a hammer. I mean, everything's a hammer. This is what I'm going to go for. So, Knupex parallel jaw clamp pliers. These are the 46mm, that's 1 3/4 inches. 8603 250 if you want to get them. But just have a look in the description, there's some links down there. These things are brilliant. I can't recommend them highly enough in terms of adjustable spanners, adjustable wrenches. Next thing we're going to go on to, so something a little bit easier to pronounce, hopefully. Where are they? Marksman marking pens. Now these things are for marking in holes. I'm going to swap in the Molten Make little backing plate here. Now what they do is they spray out kind of a paint, a powder, and they can sort of mark a hole a lot better than you can with a pencil. The idea is it fires this like a spray can down. There's one set up for deep holes, one for shallow, and let's just see if this works. There you go. Hopefully that works. You can see here they fire, there's a deep hole version and a regular version, but they essentially fire this bit of paint down to the bottom, and if you want to mark something rather than trying to reach a pencil down inside and kind of not really getting the exact center, we've got a conical tip that you just push into the end and it sprays the paint down to the bottom. Really good, actually. I recommend these a lot. They are kind of standard. I keep them next to my drill, and if I'm going to be putting something up on the wall, this is what I'm going to use, unless it's really thin sheet metal. These things are brilliant, and they're pretty accurate, actually. The other option, we cut back to the other camera, is this. So shout out in the chat if you've got one of these. I think a lot of people have got these. Again, links for all of this stuff are down in the description. Pica Markers. Now, they are kind of like a tradesman essential. Yeah, you'll see them all over the place if you work in the trades. They've got a pencil inside them. They come in pen version as well. So yeah, they are a mechanical pencil, and they can be kind of a fine liner pen as well. So these are the pencil ones. I keep one of these in my car just because they're pretty indestructible. If you want to pretend that you're, you know, one of the people who has like a multi-tool belt of everything, this is going to be on it. Because they are essentially really robust. They've got a sharpener in the end, so you can, let's cut back over to this one, make a bit of a mess on this. So you can sharpen up what is, let's see if it'll, just before I do that, a bit of a blunt pencil tip. A little bit more. There you go, sharpen it up. And actually get a reasonably fine point on there. Just brush off the paint markers there. Hopefully that'll focus. You can see that you can get a reasonably fine point, mark whatever it is you need to. They write on lots of different surfaces. And because there are mechanical pencils with a decent sized lead, they're pretty robust compared to something like this. These are great though, mechanical pencils, but they're just not quite as robust as something like this. Beware though, if you sharpen the tip too much, as soon as you put it into here, it breaks. I wish I could pretend that I set that up, but yeah, that's the one downside of these things. Is if you sharpen them too much and with a tip out and you don't push it back in, you're going to break them. You can see compared to, let's give you a cut back to here, the size of this lead or graphite, much smaller, but even with kind of a 0.5 millimeter one, this doesn't really write on this plasticky stuff. This does really well. So pica markers, they come in a pen version, they come in a pencil version. I like the pencil version. Keep it in your car, and if you need to draw on anything, then that's what I would use. So give me a shout out in the comments if you've got any of these. They are kind of relatively cheap products. I know Christmas is not far away, it's only what, many months, but I think these are worthwhile having around and easy to chuck in if you're sending to a maker who's sent you something. They're a really nice present actually. So talking of pencils, I think the next thing we're going to be talking about is not a pencil, it's a pen. And more specifically, it's an empty pen. So if you went to art school or you have any interest in drawing, you might recognise these. These are Copic markers. So let's stick it under here. Cut over to this side. So Copic markers have got two ends on them normally. You can see that this one has got nothing in them, or at least as far as you can tell there's nothing in there. The reason I get these is for kind of specific applications, and what you can do is you can fill them up with anything that you want. So if you pull the nib out, fill this up, you can then colour in with blue dicum. If you're a machinist, you already know what blue dicum is. It's a layout fluid. The idea is on metal, it's not easy to write a line with anything. It's much easier to put down something like a blue paint and scribe a line with something sharp. Now that will give you a really accurate line, and for machinists often that's what they'll use to cut to. So let me just show you a quick demo. So I'll cut over to this again. So we've got the blue dicum pen. Because this is plastic, it probably won't dry all that quickly. But compared to what they normally come in, which is a pot with a brush in, these things dry much quicker. I've talked about this on my Instagram, which is Molten Make. So if you're interested and want to see the full video, head on over there. Let's see, hopefully that will be dry by now. I'm going to use just this mechanical pencil again, just to cut a line through the Copic, thanks Al, Copic, Copic, yeah. Okay, so with plastic again, this doesn't really work, but on metal, let's see if I've got anything metal. I have. So this is a maker knife. Just going to put some layout fluid on there. The other thing that I quite like using these for, just while I wait for that to dry, is for oil. If you've got kind of sewing machine oil, anything that's really light. So Ellen, she's talking about her sewing machine in her live stream. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch that now. Yeah, I mean, might as well. She's talking about cleaning out her sewing machine just to make it function that little bit better. Now, if you fill up one of these things with oil, it will come out of the nib, it won't drip, and you can use it just to wipe on a light coat of oil. Top tip there. So coming back over to metal, now we can scribe a line through them. And I don't know how well that's going to project. Let me zoom in a bit and see if you can see it properly. That's probably as close as I can get it. Let's see if it'll focus any closer than that. Come on. Maybe not. That's probably as close as you can get it. I don't know if you can see it, but that essentially shows you just how fine a line you're able to scribe with these things. They are down to kind of sub-millimetre. So if you're doing machining or metal work, this is what kind of precision level you're aiming for. So hopefully, if I make a slightly bigger mark there, you can see the line faintly, thanks Tipsy Turner. There you go. If I really scratch at it, you can see that it's easier to remove the colour than it is to paint on a really thin line. That's the kind of the method behind this. Even with this, I think this is a 0.5mm mechanical pencil. You can get them down to about 0.3mm. The tip of a needle or the tip of a pickaxe? Ice pick. Or a machinist scribe is going to be much finer, and you're going to get a line that is going to be so much better for what you're doing. Let's just cut back to that. See if you can see it on the live stream. Hopefully you will. So we've talked a bit about things that are making marks. So we've talked about the pica markers. I'm just going to get all of these wrong. We talked about Copic Markers. We've talked about these things, which I'm not even going to try saying properly. We talked about mechanical pencils. These, when you buy them, this one has oil in it. So there you go. This is what I use for anything a bit like this. So if we come over to the maker knife, you can wipe off this with acetone. It won't come off. Won't come off easily just with scratching. But for example, if you want to oil up the side of this blade, let's open up. Molten mark, yep. I knew I could rely on Al for some puns. So you can see that, well actually I suppose you can't see, there's not really a lot coming out there, but if you touch it there is kind of an oil covering. Let's see, you can see the slight shine on my finger in the light perhaps. So you can just wipe a tiny amount of oil on either side, and that way it keeps the mechanism working really well without having to worry about oil dripping everywhere. So Copic Markers, blue Dicam, just fill these up. I think you can actually buy blue Dicam marker pens commercially, but to be honest, these are much more versatile. You can get them in packs, and if you decide you want the red one, blue one, you want to put oil in it, or if for turners out there, spirit stains, you could easily put those inside a marking pen like this, so that you could do slightly more detailed colouring. I'm not much of a wood turner, I own a lathe, but I know that that's the thing that people like to do, spirit stains, spirit, wood colour, wood stain. Someone tell me in the comments what they're called. But you could put those inside a pen, you could then draw on whatever it is you're turning without having to coat everything, particularly if you're just doing little dots. That's a nice little tip. So from something that contains nothing when you buy it, but is meant for writing, to something that is full of words, but you can't write with. Privacy stamp marker. Now, you might think, what is this? Why do I need it? At least if you live in most of the places in the UK, if you want to destroy documents so that people can't read them, you can't shred them and then recycle them. You have to shred them and throw them away. The alternative is one of these. It's got a little spring-loaded roller in. Let me bring you back over to wooden plate camera. Sorry, Dandels, I promise I'll clean this afterwards. So it's got a little protective plastic cover so that the ink inside doesn't end up going on your fingers. Spring loaded, and then let's swap over to something that I can actually mark on. So this box, let's get rid of the word Analog Wonderland, and you see that it puts some kind of written text over the top. The reason that you put text over the top. Oh no, Dandels has arrived just as I've moved his wooden plate. Let's see if I've got a pen. You've all heard of Sharpies, it's not a tip, but you can have that one for free. So if you're going to write something that you then want to obscure afterwards, let's write some, random letters. Who knows, what that even says. Impossible to tell, really. You can just scribe a line through it, but you can still read that. So the easier way to cover up stuff is that you write some letters over the top. So if I write alternative over the top of that, it's much harder to read. Similar if you're writing numbers, this is my phone number, then let's write 7621958. 314, which is my PIN code. You can see it's much harder to read. And the same thing holds true with these markers. So these are, they've got a stamp roller inside. Let's see if it will focus on not face. You might just be able to pick up the letters there. But back to me. If you are trying to scribe over, write over some letters to obscure them. Subscribe a line, subscribe. Thanks, Al. You can see that it prints this array of text, and conveniently, if I turn this over, you can see that that's my address. So I got this in the post this morning. You can see just about the bottom of my postcode, perhaps, but there it is, gone. That means that you can throw your sensitive documents, anything with your postcode on, in the recycling rather than having to tear it up and shred it, which means you can recycle it, which is a lot better for everyone. So again, links for these are down in the description. They come in packs of 2, I think they're maybe £5, something like that. I get them and put them next to the recycling bin, next to where we get post, so if you get junk mail with your address on, you can just get rid of it really quickly. Cheers to anyone on the alcohol-free beer this morning. This is Molten Make. After all, we have to have something to stay hydrated. So, anything in the comments? Dandels did see that. Good, I'm glad you're watching. Hope you're enjoying your lunch break. Franco is telling very pleasant lies about me. You can buy spare nibs, yes, absolutely you can. So that's for, I imagine, the Copic Markers. So not the one with oil in it. Let's take one of these. So these are, let's switch back to this camera. So, just not to tempt fate, I'm not going to leave my postcode right there. These, you kind of have the fine point marker. It'll focus. Focus. There we go, that's closer. So you've got a fine point, and then if I spin it around to the other side, you've got a chisel point, and you can replace these. So as they wear out, you can just get new ones. Ha ha ha, nibs. Finally escaped the workshop. So welcome to the Bluelight turn. I think Bluelight turn, you're on later, aren't you? Need one of these. Yeah, one of these. I think that's what Soph's referring to. Links down in the description if you want to have a look. They're on Amazon, but feel free to get them somewhere that's not a massive conglomerate and someone that pays taxes. So if you can find them locally, go and buy them locally. They do say Japan Plus on them, so and maybe you're not local to that. Let's see what we've got next. If we talked about earlier, kind of like coarse marking systems and somewhat finer mechanical pencils, and then blue Dicam, which is even finer again. these are the perfect companion. So this ruler, let's stick it under, let's go back to Dandel's plate again. I'm going to start calling this Dandelscan. Bevelwood UK cam, sorry, not Dandel's. So you may well have seen these if you do any degree of woodworking. They are laser cut, I think, stainless steel. They're pretty flexible, but all of these little holes are the same size as this pencil lead. So they're 0.5 millimeter, and the idea being that, and I'm not going to do this because I don't really want to draw on it, but let's put it in here. So say I wanted to mark something at 220 millimeters, that's very easy, but 220 1/4, these holes step down in 1/4 millimeters. You can buy them in inches as well, but why would you want to? No idea. And they've got some elongated slots at the bottom if you want to make a slightly longer mark. The kind of brand name that everyone knows them by are Incra, that's I-N-C-R-A. I think I got the pronunciation of that one right at least. But you can get kind of knockoff versions on Amazon, that's what I've linked to, which are a little bit cheaper. But if you do any degree of precision, which is probably not most of what I do and maybe not a lot of you, they are a really nice way of laying things out. You can get them with a stop on the end so that they can butt up against whatever bit of thing you're working on. Like, let's use my phone. So you can butt up against the edge there, and you can either read off them or really they're better for marking. But these things, like I said, this is a 30 centimeter, 300 millimeter Incra one. I've not tried the kind of off-brand ones, but they're just laser cut stainless steel. So as long as they're accurate, you might as well just get a slightly cheaper one, save your money. Again, links to all of these things are in the description. The other ruler that I like, so we've gone from Mark and Molten Mark, thanks Al, to come up with a pun for this one. So second ruler that I really like are these clear rulers with a stainless steel edge. Now, you think if you're going to be cutting something, you're going to want a metal edge. Let's swing back over to close focus camera. Now, if I can find what I was looking for, there we go. So let's say that you wanted to cut, thanks Pete, so Peter's up next from Twisted Trees I think. Go and watch his live stream, which is straight after this one. So let's say you wanted to cut something. Let's find a piece of leather. There we go. So let's say you wanted to cut this leather. You can see with a plastic edge, you're going to end up chewing up the edge. But with a metal edge, it's going to be a Maltese mark. Yeah, I like that, Dandels. So if you wanted to cut, say, a specific mark that you've already put down on leather, then you can line it up because this is see-through with one of these lines or these perpendicular lines inside, and then cut through it. And like I said, this edge here is steel, so this is the back non-sharp edge of the knife, but I can hit it against it and it doesn't cause any problems. Let's say I'd already made a mark on here, I can line it up, just score my line there. Similarly, if you then want to do one parallel, let's spin this around. There we go. Probably doesn't project through, but I can say draw parallel to this edge and then cut a line there. So like I said, the advantage of this is that one, it protects the edge of the ruler. Try not to stab myself as I put this back. So while you could use something like this, just a plain metal edge ruler, there's kind of things that you get anywhere. The advantage of the metal edge see-through ones is that you can line up with what you're doing underneath, but then you've got the edge of the ruler protected. So really good, particularly if you do any kind of paper craft, leather work, something like that. Again, link for this down in the description. If any of you guys have got any tips, stick them in the comments. It's great to have so many of you here. Oh yeah, talking of leatherwork, so here's just a kind of a set of wallets. Well, this is just one of them, but this is from a set of wallets that I made for some friends. It's for my stag do, actually. There we go, hopefully you can see a little bit better in the light. The coating that you put on the edge of leather. Now, when I started leatherwork, there were loads of different options, and I thought Edgecoat, I saw gum tragacanthon, I saw loads of different options. And actually the best, Franco, ordering today for making pasta. Yeah, that is a really good idea. If any of you don't know Franco, I'm sure you all do, he makes incredible food, amongst which is just pasta that will blow your mind. So yeah, pasta making ruler. I like that, maybe I'll have to do that later on. And in the same style, thanks Dandelscan. So these rulers, so the Incra ruler, there's a protractor. Yes, they are really good. I don't have one. Thanks for copying these links into your Christmas list. That's what I do. This is what I've pulled through from a number of years, like nice things that are relatively affordable. Most of them are, or many of them are under 20 quid. Some of them are knockoff versions. If you, support-wise, or at the moment, financially, you're not going to support the person who invented it. There are alternatives, but yes, they are very good. The Incra rulers and the protractors as well. So if you do things that aren't just right angles. What we're talking about, leather. So things, there was a link with what we talked about before in Japan, or cutting. No, cutting. So this was for cutting pasta or cutting leather. And I talked about making these things. So these are wallets, card holders that I made for my friends who came on my stag do. Thank you to Naomi in the comments. Yes, excellent Christmas gifts. So this I put Edgecoat on, and I don't really like it, if I'm honest. This is one of the ones I kept for that reason. A much better alternative is, here we go, Toconol. Again, if we're talking things that I can't pronounce. God, brain is not working today. Braining is hard. This stuff is what you should put on the edge of leather. It is by far the nicest thing. A lot of people struggle when you get into a new hobby. What do you get? This is a little bit more expensive than Edgecoat, but a little bit goes a long way, and it is so much easier and quicker to use. If any of you have used this, let me know. This is a piece of leather from the same kind of stock. You put it on a tiny bit along the edge. Let's open up this pot. And just dab along the edge. Smooth it down and then burnish it, so let it dry for a matter of a few minutes. And then just an old piece of denim. So if you were watching Ellen's thing earlier, getting pieces of denim is quite easy, or another piece of leather, or a kind of a kitchen blue cloth. If you're anything like me, you have kitchen cloths lying around all the time. I'm not going to use this because there are people in the comments watching who would tell me off if I did. But get something specifically for making, just burnish the edge. And it comes out much nicer than the edge paint that you put on these, less likely to flake. So that's Toconol. Sometimes forget about the basics, making working easier. Yeah, this is kind of the whole point of why I'm doing this, is just to talk about some of the things that I learned when I got into hobbies. I'm not particularly good at any one thing, but I think I'm quite good at starting the basics of lots of things, and hopefully it'll demystify some of the kind of the basic things that you might not know until you start later on. So thanks for that, Amy. Right, where are we up to? 12:30. We're just over halfway. Things from Japan. So I said we went from leatherworking ruler to leatherworking tool. We're going to go from product made in Japan again to another product made in Japan. If you're a fan of Skull and Spade, he has talked about this. Brett, this is a Shinto wood rasp. I know Al has got one of these. I remember finding out about it from one of those guys and thinking, that's Japanese woodworking tool. It's probably going to be quite expensive. They're not. They're about 20 quid, about $20 more or less. So just to show you, perhaps under a little bit more detail, I don't know how well that projects, but these are kind of like a bridge between cutting. And he said, first tool I have, they're great, they really are. So they're kind of like a bridge between cutting, we don't need picture of me. So they're kind of like a bridge between a cutting tool, like a knife or a saw, and sandpaper. So they are made up of essentially hacksaw type blades woven into this pattern, and they've got a coarse and a fine side. The Shinto, they do ASL. I don't know what that means, but you can get these from Dandelscan, who are a independent tool seller. So if you don't want to get them from Amazon, which is what the links I put in, I suspect you can get them a slightly longer one now too. There you go. So great tip from Wonky Workshop. That's Dan. You can get these hopefully from Dandelscan and say that Dandelscan sent you. Shinto Rasp. The idea of these, like I said, is a bridge somewhere between a cutting tool and sandpaper. So they'll take off things in not a very precise way, but they'll get through material really quickly. Particularly on the coarse side, you then flip over to the other side. I don't know whether this will project. I keep saying project, that's what teachers used to say at school, but there is a kind of a coarse side. This is the fine side. Where am I looking? This is the fine side. And that's the coarser side. You can see the teeth are much more aggressive on that side. Mornings, John D. Harvey. So yeah, Shinto Rasp. Yes, you can. So if you don't want to get these from the links I put in the description, particularly this, go and get it from an independent company. Yandels.com, yandels.co.uk, just Google it, Yandels. That is a Shinto wood rasp. I really like those. I've used it from making handles for tools, before going to sandpaper, to shaping foam, for foam smithing. So if you come in from the last cosplay stream, so I'm just checking what I'm talking about next. These things, really good for foam. Does tear out quite a bit, potentially on some types of foam, but other types it's brilliant. So, wood tool originally, but can be used for other things. Similarly, a wood kind of metal tool. This is a drill chuck, but it's a keyless drill chuck. You've probably seen these, and the reason I wanted to talk about these, let's swap you over to camera 2. The reason I wanted to talk about these is because when you first start out, a lot of the cheaper tools will have a keyed chuck. In other words, when you want to tighten these, it has a geared teeth. It's a sort of a rack and pinion type affair that it spins the chuck around and tightens around your drill bit. Those keys will get lost really easily. I have to tape mine to my drill to get it to work, but you can get keyless ones. Hi to Phil from Darkstar. So these are really good, and the reason I wanted to talk about them is because they are worthwhile getting. They're not kind of, they grip as well as a keyed chuck, I found. So you can see here, this end, let's zoom out a bit. A little bit more. So this end here fits into the drill, so a pillar drill or the tailstock of your lathe. This one is, I think, up to 6mm. Yeah, 0.5 to 6mm. So for drill chucks, you have different sizes of drill capacity they'll hold. This is the small one from my metal lathe, but equally it would fit in a wood lathe, it would fit in a pillar drill, post drill, drill press, based on what you put on the other end. So if you want to adapt a drill, a lathe, a tool stock to have one of these, you need to know the taper that these fit in. So these are a Morse taper 2 or MT2, which just happens to fit on my lathe, metal lathe, and on the wood lathe. You might have a different one, so if you've got a lathe, if you've got a drill, check what taper you need, and then the chucks will have their own separate taper. Often, I think it's a B12. So you'll need to get an arbor that adapts your chuck to your drill, lathe, whatever you want. mine is a Morse taper 2 to B10, and then I've got a keyless drill chuck on the end, which I'll show you here. You just hold the end and tighten it by hand there. They grip really well. I couldn't be happy with this one. This one, like I said, is a 0.5mm to 6, so it'll hold everything down to a 0.5mm drill bit, which is as small as I'm ever going to need to, probably too small, but it's a nice lightweight thing. Up to 6mm, and then I've got a separate one for your larger drill sizes. Of note, if you're into machining, the end of this is so that you can eject it from a tool post. Some of them have a threaded end on the end here. Let's zoom in here, so see if it will focus. You can see there's a little nubbin at the end, but there's no threaded part as such. It's got this kind of sacrificial end bit here. If you're in a mill, you might need to have a threaded portion, so an internal thread here that the tool post or the mill can grab onto. But if you're trying to eject it from a tool holder on a lathe, you just want something that it can press on the end. So just be careful when you're buying one of these. Again, links down in the description, that you get the right Morse taper fitting, or the right taper fitting for the tool that you're going to be attaching it to, the right fitting to go onto the drill chuck. Often they come together, and then the end of these will be specific either if you need a mill, so machinists will probably know that you might need a different type of fitting on the top versus a lathe. This one is for a lathe, that as you put it into your tailstock, you push it in, just knock it in, and as you unscrew the handle, it'll pull the chuck and eventually hit a backstop and push against that. So this one's for a lathe, and that's how you can tell. But they are as good as the keyed chucks. They're not particularly expensive. They come with a lot of grit and grime on, so what I did with these is stick it in an ultrasonic cleaner. They're brilliant if you buy tools or machines, particularly shipped from overseas, which is easily the cheapest way to start. And unless you're a proper machinist who cares about high tolerances, that's all you're going to need. And then, like I talked about earlier, the Copic marker, fill it with oil, and you can just paint on the bits that are relevant. Let's just tune this up now. I've been holding this with my hand a little bit. You can see I can just colour that in, or if you want to switch to the other end that's just a little bit softer, you can see this is the end I tend to use the most. Just wipe on a light coating of oil there. So keyless drill chucks, very good. Definitely a kind of tool that I thought wouldn't be as good as you might expect, and turned out to be brilliant. So if you've got a keyed drill chuck and you fancy an upgrade, get one of these. Talking of kind of niche tools I didn't think would be very good, this is a plastic pipe cutter. So if you are into brewing, which I am, you'll get beer line. Now, you could cut those with scissors, you can cut them with a knife against an edge, but this thing is actually worthwhile getting. It's very cheap, sort of £4 or something. And you can see there's a V slot in the bottom there, if I put it this way. And you could imagine that if you had a piece of pipe to cut, you can put it in there, close it over the top, and squeeze it to cut the pipe. It leaves you with really nice clean edges, so if you're using any type of push fit connector, again if you're doing compressed air, beer, gas, anything that involves pipes, pneumatics for rebuilding tools, these things are cheap, they are worthwhile, and if you're using push fit connector they will give you a really good seal. Stops you getting the jagged edges, stops you getting an angled cut that you can get with a knife. You can definitely do it with a knife, but if you do, your chance of getting a clean square cut on the end is a bit smaller. So I'd say if you do any degree of pipe work, getting one of these is a worthwhile investment. I stick it with the rolls of pipe that I have. So if I ever need to send beer line to people or replace beer lines in my kitchen, in my brewery, then it's just there to hand. It's a simple, quick cut. And the blades, you can see it's, let's stick it down here. The blades are replaceable, but actually for the cost you almost end up buying a new one. I've never had to sharpen these, I've never had to replace them. They're cutting plastic, that's what they're designed for, and so a steel blade will last a very long time. If any of you have used one of those, I would love to know what you've used it for, because it is a kind of a specific tool for a specific thing. Similarly, like the next thing, now unfortunately we're going back to the same German company that I couldn't pronounce earlier, Copic. Sorry for the noise. So they make these, they also make these things. I'm going to stick this under close-up camera, because if any of you work for that company, like, I like those products. They're really good. They do good versions of more or less everything. I just can't pronounce the name and I can never remember it, even though I've got it written down. As in the phonetic would be Kuhnipex. Kinipex. Anyway, moving on to what we're actually going to talk about is another kind of specific tool. This thing is a ergo strip, and it's designed for rewiring or for electrical wiring. Now, there are loads of different wire strippers, and I find that if I'm doing machinery repair or house rewiring, having one of these is really useful. So it does a couple of different things. This one is designed for kind of the flat wires that you get, at least in the UK, for households. So this clamps around your flat wire, kind of, you know, oval cross section. You guys know the one I'm talking about? Kind of that cross section, more flat, twin and earth. So it clamps around that, and it's to remove the outer casing, protective insulation. So it clamps around the end, cut off the insulation. You then, it's got a little blade in here. This one, this looks a bit like a tooth incisor. You then would clamp around the middle and pull the cable through. It probably makes more sense to do it this way, but pull it along the cable so that you can then peel off that outer sheathing. So you've managed to take off your outer insulation. You can peel off that, and since you put a line down the middle without any problems. You can actually do it in the middle of the wire if you need to, for any reason. If you're doing that sort of things, you probably have a degree of knowledge about this stuff already and are an electrician. But you can then use the sides here to strip off the insulation on the individual wires. So if you are rewiring your own house, or you're rewiring something and you have the skill to do that for legal reasons, or if you're rewiring machinery, rewiring a plug, they're brilliant. I keep these again with my kind of electrical toolbox. So they have a pair of these in, so heavy duty wire cutters, some flush cut things for smaller wire, and then something like this. This one, like I said, is the Bluelight Turner. Drop the K. Nipex. So I watched a video, it's Kunipex, and they said there is a video online. The company, these people, made a video on how to pronounce it. All the German people I know are shouting at me, going, "I've told you this before." Yeah, these people make tools like this. They're called Ergo Strip. There is a link in the description again. This one is for flat cable. They do one for round cable. So I have this one for rewiring kind of mains stuff, which you need to be qualified to do, or get someone qualified to sign it off. But then they also have a round one, which is brilliant for rewiring tools, particularly if, like me, you get a lot of your tools at auction. They come with plugs broken off, they come with dodgy wiring, you want to rewire it for single phase. I've got a video, have a look on my channel if you want to rewire 3-phase machines for single phase power supply. Something like this is just hugely time saving if you're going to be doing that. So Kunipex, those people, Ergo Strip. So that is a second cutting tool after these things that is kind of somewhat highly specific. I've got a third one. This. Now, when you're opening packages, you could either use a really nice knife. I've got, this is in my kitchen, this is inevitably where packages get brought into. I could use a nice knife. Now, you're going to reach for the knives that you have in your knife block. I really don't want to use these ones. These are made by a dear friend, or at least they're made by someone. So these are made by Rasmus Loensmed. They're beautiful, and they're carbon steel knives. And I don't want to ruin my knives, a bit like Ellen was talking about earlier, that sewists, if you use your sewing shears or your tailor's scissors on paper, you'll ruin them. I don't want to ruin the sharpness of my kitchen knives on paper. So I could use something like this. This is my maker knife from Jacko, which is really cool. But I tend to use this for cutting sharp stuff, and if you've got small people around in your house, not like Rasmus, like children, wait, ignore that bit. So if you've got children around in your house, then you do want something a little bit safe that you can leave out. And this is round-ended. It's a canary, and it is specifically made for cardboard. It's got a few advantages here. First of all, it's serrated. Any of you who have tried to cut open boxes with knives and then gone to use them later on will know that it blunts your knife really quickly. So a serrated knife that I only use specifically for cardboard with a Teflon coating is a really nice option because the tape won't stick to it. So here's that box I had earlier. This is from a nice company called Wonderland, who I have bought some film from. Not sponsored, I paid for these, I wish they sponsored me. So if you're cutting through the tape, it won't stick. Won't stick to the side, and equally you can cut through all of that. It'll cut through cardboard. Not that cutting through cardboard is anything special, but it does do it quite quickly. You can see there, cuts through nice and easily with a decent clean edge. So if you're going to be recycling stuff, it's easy to cut down cardboard to fit in a bin, and you're not having to use your really nice knives to do it. Now they do make a fold-away knife, which I think is even safer. So if you are in that kind of situation needing to keep knives away from people, then the round-ended retractable version is even better. I've got a load of these because I don't have to worry so much about it, but the one I put in the description is it's one of these, but for cardboard. This, by the way, is a breakaway knife, cartridge style knife. This was only for just needing it nearby, but the best ones I think you can get of these are made by NT Cutter. I haven't got a link in the description, so this is a bonus for any of you who are watching. But NT Cutter make brilliant knives. These are actually specifically for putting wraps on cars, so they're a hyper acute blade. There's the tip of it. You can see that it's a bit sharper than your standard blade. I like these for leatherworking or anything that we need a really sharp knife for. NT Cutter. You can get them in Japan and shipped over to the UK if you're that sad and obsessed about obscure optimization of knives. Let's see what we have next. We've got a couple more minutes left. I put a secret link for something in the description that I didn't forget to bring up, but it's in the description. It's to do with hot glue guns and sealing wax. So go and have a look at that if you're interested. I've got some, they're quite good. The next thing I do actually have with me, Ulfa. Yeah, Ulfa are really good and you can get them almost everywhere, but actually I prefer the NT Cutter ones to the Ulfa ones. It's probably just because I think they're better than them actually being better. But yeah, Ulfa, O-L-F-A, again I'll probably mispronounce that, are a really good brand. The next thing are push down liquid dispensers. So these are really cheap ones, so you can get them for about £2 on Amazon. This is the slightly better version. It's not just bigger, it is better. The idea behind these, this one I've filled with the beverage of your choice or isopropyl alcohol. So if you do cleaning of electronics, or if you do French polishing, I think, doing it. So with French polishing, I think you put on layers of shellac and then you wipe them down with alcohol, methylated spirits. Now, the difficulty with that is that you've got a flammable liquid that you're going to be leaving in an open container. It's very easy to knock it over, particularly in a workshop. These are a pump top dispenser, so you press down on the top. Let's see if, I mean, this hasn't got anything in, just for demonstration, but the pump will then squeeze a tiny amount into the top here, so that you can stick a rag on top and use that to then clean things. So if you're wiping off electronics, if you're spit shining your shoes and want to use water to just shine something up, if you're doing French polishing, yeah, nail artist, absolutely. So Amy, that's exactly what you search for on Amazon. Press down or push top dispensers, that's what nail artists use them for. So again, stealing it from another another industry is something I love doing. Interestingly, if you're into art conservation, this is what these ones, the kind of the most expensive ones, are from. They last a lot longer, and they're metal topped with a decent HDPE bottle, and they're static safe, and they don't leach chemicals, and they're acid free. So if you are going to do something like that, archival print work, that's what these are for. And for some of them, they are, so with this flip top, they will press up, and then anything that goes back in will drain away. You can get bigger versions of these, which are kind of £50 to £100. They're designed for workshop, for rags. Again, they're very expensive. These are a lot cheaper. And if you want even cheaper stuff, these ones are £2 for 8 or something like that. Great for cleaning away laser burn from laser engraved timber too. Yeah, there you go. So having these in your workshop are really useful. You can keep your flammable liquids inside them. You can keep stains, anything that's going to, if you spill it, it's going to cause you to have a bad day. Pump top containers, again, link in the description. If you can think of something interesting for them, let me know, because I really like using them, and I'd love to hear what you use them for. We are not far off the end, but we've got one more. There's a secret one, again, I didn't forget to bring, but let's talk about one last thing. Am I a fountain pen user? I do have a fountain pen, yes. It's one with you twist the end and it pulls ink up inside. But I never really use it to do sticker swaps, because I don't write anything otherwise other than sending letters to other makers. But I suspect you're maybe talking about dipping ink in them. I love that. That's a really good idea. Where is CJ Hobbies? If that's not what you think of, then that's a really interesting idea, or that we've accidentally thought of, that putting ink in the top and just pressing, you can then press down on it with your quill and write. So yeah, pump top containers, link to buy them in the description if you can't find them somewhere else. So last thing I want to talk about are Velcro cable ties. Now I got these ones, these are Molten Make ones. I at some point might start selling them, but at the moment I just keep them for all of my equipment. If I showed you the chaos that is the live stream setup of wires over there, most of them come with slightly rubbishy cable twist ties. What I tend to do is put one of these on almost all my cables, so for want of a better substitute, I wrap them through. Let's show you under a smaller camera. So take your cable, because all the cables I have are currently in use, wrap them through, and again you can do this with tools, you can do this with anything, and it velcros round to keep things shut like that. I think they're a lot better than the kind of cheap plastic coated metal that you get with most cables that you buy. I've sent a link to Amazon, again, all the links are Amazon links, but you can get these custom made, so that's what I did. I got Molten Make ones, there we go, from a supplier on Alibaba, but essentially every cable that I have, I'm storing, I will wrap one of these around. You can buy 100 of them for very little money. If you particularly want to support me, then send me a message and I can send you a hugely overpriced Molten Make branded one. But it's a way that you can then, great for PC builds. Yes, they absolutely are. So comment from Jack London. So for hiding wires for computers, so all of my computer I've actually redone recently. I put some, wherever it is, this leather, I had a load of it left over, I covered with my desk in it, and decided to redo all the wiring at the same time. It's definitely the way to go. Velcro cable ties rather than zip ties. Even the releasable zip ties are a bit of a pain, but these things are reusable. You can wrap them around the cords, and it's great for storage. So All of the links for everything are down in the description. If you are interested, they are affiliate links, so they'll support me without costing you anything. But feel free to go and find them elsewhere. This is more a video to tell you about some interesting things that I think are worthwhile getting. If you do want to get something interesting, there are Malt and Make t-shirts available, and you can get them on maltandmake.com. If you're new here, thank you for joining me. It's been a really good stream. There are some brilliant people coming on later on today, so do make sure to go to virtuallycrafty.com, and that'll take you to a playlist with everyone's live, and you'll be able to watch them throughout the day. Particularly a lot of the people in the comments, thank you so much for joining. A lot of you are on later today. Hopefully you all learned something and found this useful. I'm going to be releasing a video with a few more tips a bit like this in a couple of weeks' time. I've just put a video out about making some ear defender Bluetooth headset powered air thing that you might enjoy. It's a nice short video, but watch out for another video that's going to be a lot like this live stream coming in a few weeks. So subscribe if you want to see that. Can you use the Velcro ties to help with tie-dye t-shirts? I bet you can. These are t-shirts that I made. I didn't commission them, I physically make them myself with screen printing, and I send them out with cable ties with these Malt and Make things wrapped around them, and they do stick really well. I bet they would work for tie-dye t-shirts. If you want to find more of me, you can find me on Instagram, you can subscribe to me here on YouTube. If you want to listen to me waffling on, then I'm on the Makers Waffle podcast tomorrow on Sunday, so go and find the Makers Waffle people. Even if you don't want to listen to me, they are brilliant, and they've got a variety of makers, not just from the people that you might have heard of before, but from lots of people, kind of quite a diverse mix of the maker community. So yes, you can find me on Makers Waffle tomorrow on YouTube right now, and at that point I'm going to say thank you ever so much to everyone who's joined. If you do want to, like I said, get some of these things I've suggested, there are links down in the description which would support my channel. Otherwise, you can support me by buying one of these t-shirts from maltandmake.com or just leaving some comments on my video and following me here and on Instagram. I will see you on the next one. Go to virtuallycrafty.com for everything amazing that's coming up for the rest of the day. Bye guys.